26 Ukrainian attack drones crossed the border at low altitude, racing toward a Russian airbase holding a squadron of Su-35 and Su-34 aircraft. Half an hour into the approach, everything looked routine. Then the darkness ahead lit up, and the operators realized the corridor they were flying through wasn't empty. It was a trap, and it had been waiting for them. 8 kilometers into Russian territory, tracer fire rose from the tree line in short probing bursts before a full wall of anti-aircraft fire opened up directly ahead. The lead drone took a direct hit to the wing from a rapid-fire cannon system built specifically to hunt slow, low-flying targets like it. It spun, dropped, and exploded at the edge of the forest, gone from the control screens in an instant. A second gun position opened up from the opposite side of the corridor, then a third. For a moment, it looked like Russia had simply turned the approach route into a shooting gallery, and Ukraine had walked straight into it. But the instant those guns fired, they gave away exactly what Ukraine needed. A muzzle flash in the dark is nearly impossible to find until the moment it fires, and then it becomes a beacon. Each position's coordinates were relayed back within seconds to rocket batteries already sitting loaded, aimed, and waiting only for a final fix. The tree line split open as counter-battery rockets streaked in and destroyed the first gun, then the second, then the third. What the Russian gunners never realized was that the lead drones carried no warheads at all. Their entire purpose was to fly deep enough into contested airspace to force the air defense crews to reveal themselves. A gun sitting silent under camouflage is nearly undetectable. The moment it fires, its position is locked down to the meter. The decoys had done their only job, and the corridor toward the airbase began to open. It was almost too clean. 40 kilometers back, a Russian officer watched the entire exchange unfold on a monitor and gave the order for the next air defense layer to move in. Not to seal the corridor, but to be hunted deliberately. Every gun Ukraine destroyed revealed something in return: the direction Ukrainian reconnaissance drones were looking, and by extension, roughly where the operators controlling this whole strike were sitting. Losing another vehicle or two was an acceptable price if it meant locating the people running the operation. Hidden well behind the corridor, a Russian signals intelligence vehicle had been listening since the first exchange, never firing a shot, only triangulating. Every time a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone transmitted new coordinates to artillery, it left a radio signature behind it. 2 separate receiving stations picked up the same transmission from different angles, and where those bearing lines crossed, a location began forming on a screen far from the fighting, the approximate position of the Ukrainian control bunker itself. Inside that bunker, the crew had no idea they'd become the actual target. They kept marking gun positions, feeding coordinates to their own artillery, and refocusing on the drone formation ahead. Each transmission narrowed the search circle around their own position a little further, until only one more fix was needed to remove the last margin of error. The hunters had become the hunted, and neither side fully understood it yet. Then Russia hit back on 2 fronts at once. A wide-area jamming system lit up the sky ahead of the drone formation, flooding the control links with interference. Video feeds stuttered. Telemetry data dropped out. For a moment, it looked like Ukraine's entire command chain toward the airbase might be severed outright. It wasn't, because most of the formation didn't need it. The bulk of the drones had been loaded with fixed target coordinates and a stored terrain map before launch, comparing the roads, tree lines, and river bends passing beneath them against a reference picture already in memory. No live signal required. The jammer could drown out radio, but it couldn't erase a map already carried on board. That same jamming system had a weakness of its own. Blanketing an area with that much radio energy makes the jammer itself glow brightly to anyone listening for it. Ukrainian signals intelligence stations picked up the emission from 2 angles, and its position resolved on a map just as clearly as the earlier gun positions had. A handful of drones still needing live control for moving targets, aircraft taxiing, fuel trucks repositioning, deliberately turned toward the jammer's coordinates, keeping their transmissions active and loud. The Russian system locked onto them immediately, pouring all its jamming power into the group that wanted to be found, exactly as intended. While it was distracted, the rest of the strike package went quiet, dropped lower, and pushed through the interference zone on inertial navigation and stored maps alone. The decoy drones dove low and struck the jammer directly. First the antenna cluster, then the command vehicle, then the generator and support trucks parked around it. Within seconds, the site was burning and off the air entirely. Behind it, the drones that had lost their link began reconnecting, video and telemetry stabilizing frame by frame as the electronic wall that had blocked the corridor simply stopped existing. Realizing the drones themselves were proving harder to stop than expected, the Russian command shifted its whole effort toward the people flying them. The triangulated bunker coordinates were handed to a swarm of cheap FPV drones, dozens of them, launched at once and sent low and fast toward the border. Ukraine's own electronic countermeasures activated immediately, jamming control links and feeding false position data into the incoming swarm. Several attackers lost their signal entirely and drifted into open fields. Others believed the false coordinates completely and flew confidently toward a target that wasn't there. Not all of them fell for it. A portion of the swarm ran on fiber optic tethers immune to jamming entirely, and those kept coming, undeterred by any of Ukraine's electronic defenses. Physical countermeasures took over from there. Interceptor drones launched to meet them head-on, heavy machine guns and a rapid-fire anti-aircraft vehicle throwing up a wall of fire as the swarm closed the final few hundred meters. Roughly half the attacking drones were destroyed before reaching the bunker, but every one shot down cost ammunition, fuel, and precious seconds the defenders didn't have to spare, while Russia kept sending more. Inside the bunker, the crew split their attention between two survival problems at once. Keep guiding the strike package now arriving over the airbase, and keep tracking the FPV swarm closing in on their own position. Every explosion outside shook the roof. Leaving the screens risked losing the strike at its most critical moment. Staying risked not noticing the one drone that finally got through. Overhead, the airbase came into view exactly as briefed. Fighters lined along the apron, bombers staged near hardened shelters, fuel trucks moving between rows of aircraft, some engines already starting. Fixed structures, hangars, fuel depot, operations building had their coordinates locked in from reconnaissance before the mission ever launched, and the drones assigned to them needed no further guidance, correcting their own approach automatically against the stored reference imagery. But the aircraft themselves were moving targets, taxiing, repositioning, accelerating toward runways, and those needed a human eye. Operators inside the bunker picked out specific aircraft on their screens, placed the targeting reticle ahead of each one's motion, and let automated tracking lock onto the shape and hold it centered through the final dive, even if video dropped out in the last critical seconds. Russian artillery, cued by the located bunker, fired its first salvo at almost the same moment the strike package began its final approach. Ukrainian counter-battery radar caught the incoming shells mid-flight, traced them back to their launch point, and returned fire before the first Russian salvo even landed. The exchange came down to a matter of seconds on both ends of the fight. Above the base, the drones began diving. One found the fuel depot exactly where reconnaissance had placed it, and secondary explosions tore through the storage tanks. A second punched into a hardened hangar. A third lost its live link in the final seconds, only to autocorrect and drive straight into the operations building regardless. The manually tracked drones stayed locked on their moving targets, even after the video briefly cut out, following a fuel truck into a fireball, then a taxiing fighter until the frame went black on impact. Then another aircraft caught just clear of its shelter. The final drone punched a crater straight across the runway's main intersection, closing the base to any aircraft that might have survived. Inside the bunker, the operators abandoned their screens the instant the mission completed, grabbing nothing but themselves and running for the tree line. The next artillery salvo landed seconds later, one shell outside, one through the roof, one dead center on the chairs they'd just been sitting in. A few seconds slower, and the bunker would have been buried before the strike ever finished. 40 kilometers away, the officer who'd correctly triangulated the bunker's location jammed the formation and sent an entire swarm after the control crew watched the base burn anyway. Every layer of defense had worked exactly as designed. None of it, together, was fast enough. What do you think mattered most in this operation? The decoy drones that exposed the air defense guns, the decision to let the jammer find and target itself, or the crew that kept flying the mission while their own position was under direct attack. Let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe to Military Dispatch for the next tactical breakdown.